guys, welcome back to my channel. This is OZD Movie Reviews, and I am here with my friend, Justin.
G'day everyone, I'm back.
Yep, he was in my Transformers Revenge of the Fallen video that we did, which was a lot of fun.
And we still have yet to get to Dark of the Moon, which we will get to eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to it probably sometime soon, because
yeah.
I really had a lot of fun reviewing Transformers movies. So, since Halloween is around the corner...
Which is actually tomorrow.
It was tomorrow. Probably this video will be uploaded by tomorrow, hopefully.
Likely so.
So, we decided to talk about the best horror films that we have seen this last decade.
Now, personally, we've, I reckon the 80s and the 90s, or even the 70s had the best age of horror movies, whereas the 2010s, it's a hit and miss for horror for me, at least in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
But there are some really good ones in the 2010s that, that Olwen has invited me to cover with him. So,
since, this last decade is over, I'm thinking, let's talk about and refresh our memories of each horror films that came out from 2010 to 2019. These are our top 10 favorites. And so, we're going to start off talking about some honorable mentions, including one worst horror film of 2010. So,
correct.
Do you want to go first, Justin?
So what are we starting off with? The best or the worst?
We're starting off with honorable mentions before we get to the actual top 10.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Let's see.
And none of us known what picks that we put in our list, so it's going to be a lot of fun too.
And, being that this is our list and our opinions, we're going to be very biased.
Yes, if you don't like any of these movies, that's absolutely fine. This is our subjective picks, so yeah.
But it is, yeah.
So before Justin sets up his honorable mentions, please make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, ring the bell to notify for more latest movie reviews, and also let us know what are your top 10 favorite movies of the last decade, or favorite horror films from the last decade. We really want to know. So, let's get started on some honorable mentions.
And be as biased as you want in the comments, guys.
Yeah, but it's our picks. It's our picks.
Be as biased as you want with your lists.
Yeah. Alright, so Justin, take it away.
Righto. So, my honourable mentions... Annabelle Creation, which I think is the only good spin-off in the Conjuring franchise.
I agree.
Don't Breathe by Fede Alvarez.
Yes, I love that film.
Intense as fuck, honestly.
It is.
The Babadook. That's only an honourable mention because I don't like it as much as everyone else does.
Me neither. I thought it's a bit overrated.
I do think that towards the end of the movie, that was when it was really... the movie got really good towards the end.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Krampus.
Krampus. The Christmas one.
Yeah,
I was thinking of something else. Yeah, that's actually very underrated.
I reckon the director Michael Dougherty, however you pronounce his last name, should do more holiday themed horror movies. And supposedly he's going to be doing a Trick or Treat too, which I'm hoping.
Which I love that movie, and no, that didn't even came out in 2010. Okay, that's
it's a 2007 movie.
Yeah.
But all right. Those are my honourable mentions. You take it away, Owen.
Yes, okay. My honourable mentions, I didn't put Annabelle Creation, so I'll add that onto it as well.
Okay.
Because I love that movie. The Conjuring, the first one. I know, subjective, it's my list, but I love The Conjuring. It's a good film. Very surprisingly, because it came out way after when horror films haven't been as great as they were.
True.
Sinister, which that movie was... In my opinion, the most creepiest movies I've ever seen.
I still have yet to see Sinister.
It's a freaking terrifying movie. Insidious, the first one.
Oh, that's a good choice, mate.
Yeah, that's not on my list, I'm sorry. It's a great film, don't get me wrong. Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, which I loved. I thought it's very underrated.
I still have yet to see that one.
I'm guessing you haven't seen this one, Ready or Not.
No.
Which is about a deadly game of hide and seek. Recommendation from OTD.
No worries.
Brightburn, which I thought that movie was so underrated. It's basically what if they took Superman and made it into a supernatural horror film. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Brightburn was actually on my watch list. I just never got around to seeing it.
Yeah. Lights Out, which I thought it's so underrated. Until the ending. I thought the ending sucked, but the rest of the movie was fantastic. I know Justin hasn't seen that film. And last but not least, I wouldn't know if this is a horror film, but to me it is The Lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a disturbing movie, so I'll count that as a horror film.
Okay.
So now, before we get to our top 10, let's just name off one worst horror film of the 2010. So, Justin, what is your worst horror movie of 2010?
Boy, took me a while to think about this one. Alien Covenant.
What?
Yeah.
What?
To me, it was a massive disappointment because I was expecting more I was expecting more of it being more like Prometheus, but what we got instead was.
I'm surprised you put Alien Covenant.
I put it here because it's just a really shit rehash of the first Alien movie.
Okay.
And it's predictable as fuck. So
yeah.
That's really
personally I like the movie, so
each to their own. I guess.
But I accept his opinion, so I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Let's face it, he wants to stab me at the end of this video. So.
Nah, it's his opinion, I accepted it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway.
Alright, so my worst movie from the 2010s, it's pretty hard because there's a lot.
Right.
But the one that really pisses me off the most, it came out last year, and that movie is called Black Christmas. Which is...
Oh, that's the remake of
the third remake... No, second remake of Black Christmas.
Second remake? What?
Yeah, there was a remake that came out somewhere in 2006, I think?
I don't ever recall there being another Black Christmas remake.
Yeah, there's like the original, there's the first remake, this is the second one. I thought this movie was one of the most boring horror films I've ever seen.
Okay.
It's literally felt more like a gender, like... How do I say it? Like, sexist movie that's saying, oh, guys are bad and girls, all that shit.
Funnily enough, I was actually going to see it at one point last year, but then plans never fell through and I just never watched it.
And that was probably the best choice you've ever done because Blumhouse seriously has been doing shit right now, and...
I think it's probably because they're more focused on Halloween Kills, I guess.
And they're more focused on doing sequels to properties, like they did for Fantasy Island, they did for The Grudge, and recently The Craft Legacy, which I saw, which my review of that will be coming very, very soon. That movie was terrible. So, enough with that, guys. Let's get into the top 10 favorite horror films of the last decade. I'm so excited. None of us know what we picked, so this is going to be fun. So, Justin, let's start off with number 10. So, what is your number 10?
Okay, my number 10 pick for horror of the 2010s is Evil Dead 2013.
Oh, nice! That's actually on my list as well, but I'm not going to tell you where.
People call it a reboot, most people call it a reboot. I think it's a remake because
it is.
It borrows the plot of the first movie.
Yeah.
But I think the highlight of Evil Dead 2013 is the lead character, Mia. I think Jane Levy did a fantastic job as the main character, and the violence. Oh,
yes, it's probably the most violent out of the
I fucking love the violence because of the fact that it's practically done without any CGI. And every time I see the violence and the goriness of the movie, I just get so excited, which may sound weird.
No, I'm okay with
One part that made me cringe so much, and it's something that I hate seeing in horror movies.
Spoiler alert, some of these picks will contain spoilers as well if you have not seen it.
So there's this one part in Evil Dead 2013 where one of the characters gets stabbed in the eye with a needle.
Yes, that's practical, right?
I think it was practically done, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, after he knocks out one of his demon friends, he had to pull the needle out of his eye.
Yes, I remember that.
The first
that scene
time
was bloody brutal.
The first time I saw that, I actually couldn't fucking watch it.
Holy shit, yeah, me too.
I think that's the only scene I couldn't watch.
A matter of fact, Evil Dead 2013 is the first Evil Dead movie I watched.
Really?
Yes, and I couldn't watch it, and then I started watching the first one, second one, which I always say the second Evil Dead is my favorite. The remake is still great, and it's on my list somewhere, I'm not going to tell you where.
Sorry. Well, honestly, you seeing the Evil Dead remake is actually a really good start to the.
It is, and I wish
it kept.
And I wish it kept going.
I think they will be doing an Evil Dead 2 soon.
Hopefully they do, and that's really cool that Sam Raimi's involved with it as well.
Because like, if Bruce Campbell's retired as Ash, I'm really happy for the remake franchise to actually go on.
Yeah.
So, and having the female lead, Mia, being like the new face of Evil Dead, I'm up for it, honestly.
That's awesome, dude. So,
yeah.
Evil Dead's your number 10. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, my number 10 is a movie that came out last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
This movie really surprised me because this is the second film by this director.
Yeah.
And the first movie that this director directed, I literally did not expect it to be as great as I thought it would be. And it was fantastic. And now he made a second film, and I thought it was fantastically written, so original. I saw this twice in theaters, so my number 10 goes to Us.
Ooh.
Now, I love Jordan Peele. I think he really surprised me with Get Out, which also is on my list. I'm not going to tell you where it is. Obviously, it's a bit higher up on the list. But everything about Us, I love how original it was, and that's what Jordan Peele is really great at, is that he makes films really terrifying but lighthearted at the same time. And Lupita Nyong'o, great performance in that movie.
Because I've always known Jordan Peele as he's more of a comedian.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that's great about it. And he also adds comedy to the horror films as well, which is fantastic, the comedy in Us. But also what's great about Us is that the trailers didn't give anything away because the movie drives more forward. I know you haven't seen Us.
I've only seen the trailers, yes.
You need to check it out. It's fantastic. But the plot goes more forward. I'm trying not to spoil it for him. So the plot gets more forward. There's a lot of stuff that were in trailers, and there's a lot of stuff we didn't expect, and the movie just gets better and better from there. So
spoil it for me so I don't have to see it.
Yes, I'm trying not to, but you need to see Us. But Us, yes, a great Jordan Peele movie, and I can't wait to see what he does next. So yeah, Us is on my number 10. So, number 9. What's your number 9?
Ooh, my number 9 pick is Halloween 2018.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised that's on your list.
I wanted to put this higher because I'm such a big Halloween fan, but the only reason why it's so low on the list was because in my opinion, it could have been better.
It could have been, yeah, I agree.
Though I reckon it's a great return for Michael Myers. I just think the choices they made for the movie wasn't really the best choices, I guess. But I think the best part of the movie, besides Michael Myers, is the soundtrack by John Carpenter.
I agree.
Which I think, well, if any of you've seen the movie...
Come on, the theme is such an iconic theme.
If you've seen the part where Michael Myers chases Allison, and the soundtrack for that, the soundtrack was, for that scene alone, sent shivers down my spine when I first saw it in the theatres. But other than that, I just think the movie could have been better.
Yeah.
Even though Jamie Lee Curtis was like the main focus point of the movie.
Which I thought she was great in that film.
My problem was she didn't get enough screen time.
I get it. Because it's more about Michael Myers, which...
I guess, yeah.
Which is something that I'm okay with, because Michael Myers is also obviously a great serial killer. Spoiler alert, that movie's not on my list. I'm actually regretting it.
I've got so much more to say about Halloween 2018, but... because I'm a Halloween buff, but this is a... top 10's video. So
yeah.
I think I'll let Owen take
maybe we can review the Halloween movies, maybe. Leading up to Halloween Kills, maybe.
Hell yeah. Why not?
If we can, yeah.
We could do it next October.
Yeah. Good idea. Alright, we'll set that up. So, coming to my number 9 is actually your number 10, and that is the remake of Evil Dead.
Awesome.
It's basically everything that Justin just says, but I'll just try and explain it. It is brutal. It's a surprisingly great remake, which usually with horror remakes when it comes to it, some of them can be good, some of them are not. I would say Evil Dead is probably the best remakes in general. The movie kept so much spirit from the original movies, but make it more gory, make it more violent. And I'm happy that Sam Raimi was still involved in it, which is great. The cast is fantastic. The movie is violent, probably the most violent one out of the series. I still think Evil Dead 2 is better.
Wait till you watch the TV show.
Yes, I haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead. I heard great shit about that show, so I better watch that show.
I think the best part about Evil Dead 2013 was the final battle with...
Yes, I was about to mention that. Yeah, that final battle was awesome, but like Justin said, that scene with the eye, yes, that scene I couldn't watch at first, and then like I loved the movie more.
I manned up eventually, and I could sit through it now. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's basically not much to say because Justin already mentioned why this movie was great. That end credit scene with Bruce Campbell,
groovy.
I literally cried. I'm like, yes. Like after I watched it, like the second time when I watched the other Evil Dead movies, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
If I was in the theater, I would have been like jumping. Yeah. So yeah, the remake of Evil Dead is on my number 9. So, number 8.
Number 8. This was a movie that really surprised me because it just so happened to be on Netflix. Oculus.
Wow, I heard that movie is very underrated.
It is so fucking good, and the twist ending, holy shit, the twist ending actually got me.
Shit.
Because like the whole the general premise of Oculus is like, because I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe throw some comments below if I'm wrong. It's basically about a mirror that basically makes you see things that aren't really happening. And I'm not going to spoil it because you seriously need to see this.
I'm going to check it out. I heard
the
that
twist ending fucking got me.
Yeah, this director, he directed Dr. Sleep and Hush, which that's an underrated horror film you should see if you haven't
I think I've seen Hush, yeah.
Alright, that's good. Hush is fantastic, but yeah, Oculus is the only movie I haven't seen from this.
Do check it out, it's so good.
That's awesome. Is that the one with, what's her
Karen
name?
Gillian?
Yes, alright, I need to see it because I heard great things about that movie.
It's fantastic.
So, coming into my number 8 is another Sam Raimi involvement type movie. Now, you've mentioned this on your honorable mentions. this is one of the most intense films I've ever seen, and that movie goes to Don't Breathe.
Oh, yes.
I remember I saw this movie in the theater, and the moment when the blind man comes, and right when, like, he started trapping these robbers in the house, that first scene where he kills this guy, I was honestly shitting my pants.
Yeah.
Like, that scene was so scary, and I heard they're going to make number 2 coming up, which I feel like this should have been a standalone movie, to be honest with you. It should have. Stephen Lang, I think his name is.
Stephen Lang, yeah.
Lang, he was phenomenal in this movie. Like, he brings that character well. But even the thing that's great about Don't Breathe is that there's no good guy. Because the 3 robbers are actually villains as well at some stage. So you basically root for the bad guy to get away from the bad guy. It's like, to me, it's kind of original with it.
And I think the best part about the movie is, which is so intense, when everything blacks out. And they have to, like, try to avoid him.
That scene, I was literally closing my eyes because, like, you don't want to fuck with this blind man. And it put a great twist on, like, a blind man type story. Like, you know, like, a blind man is actually the scary part, like, the killer. Yeah. And I'm like, that's clever writing. Right when I saw the trailer, I'm like, this movie's going to be suspenseful as hell. And the movie turns out way more suspenseful. And it gets gross at a couple of scenes, like the sperm goes into his...
Yeah, honestly...
That scene was disgusting.
I actually found that really funny, to be honest.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go rated R on this point, but horror movies are mostly violent anyway at some stage. Some of them are PG-13. So, yeah, Don't Breathe is on my number 8. I really love that movie. It's so suspenseful as hell, and I could watch this movie every single day. With the other movies that are on my list, of course. Obviously. So, time for number 7.
Right, number 7. Sometimes with lists... If it's in a franchise and I can't make up my mind which one is good and I like them all equally, I put them all together. So my number 7 pick is Insidious 1, 2, and 3.
Wow, you put all 3 of them. Okay, I'm fine with it.
I liked all of the... I'm not, except for the last one, which I still have yet to see. I really don't plan on seeing the last key. I think that's...
I heard it was alright. Oh, no, I actually have seen it. I thought it was... Yeah, but I had to watch it again.
But yeah, I reckon Insidious 1, 2, and 3, they're really good.
They felt both like their standalone movies, so I'll accept all 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like one more than the other. I just personally think that they're all good. But if anything, I kind of like part 2 just a tad bit more because it gave me some Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, which I really love.
I see, yeah. That devil looks so much like Darth Maul, by the way.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, it's basically Darth Maul with goat legs, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. But he looks cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen those movies in ages, but I remember the first one scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, the first one.
The ending was so good too. That ending, freaking hell. My number 7 is an A24 film. Now, I thought this film is extremely underrated. People should check it out. This movie is very disturbing as hell, and I'm not sure if you've seen it. I'll be happy if you did. That movie's called The Witch.
Fucking love that movie.
Yes, The Witch. This movie was... Probably out of all the last decade, horror films is probably the most disturbing. Because it took place in one of those olden eras.
It took place in colonial America.
Yes. I think this is the first movie I've seen Anya Taylor-Joy in, and she was a phenomenal actress. And I just noticed, I'm surprised Split isn't in my list, but I wouldn't consider that as a horror film. But anyway, everything about The Witch, the look of the movie looks disturbing, and it goes in scares that it's not like jump scares, it's more of like scenery scares. And there's a lot of creepy folklore scenes and all that stuff. And
because this was the fact that this was something Europeans and old Americans believed in so much. Yeah. That I think them I'll paraphrase that. I just reckon they nailed the whole aesthetic and feel of European old American folklore so well that like it legit creeps down your spine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, The Witch is definitely one of the most creepiest movies I've ever seen out of the horror movie 2010's decade, so that's why The Witch is on my number 7. I was about to say 6 for a minute. It's on my number 7. Sorry, Justin, what do you got for your number 6?
Well, my number 6 was your number 7, The Witch.
Yes. I'm not the only one that's seen The Witch. That's good.
To add to what Owen said about with The Witch, I just think that like the movie captured the time period so well of that age. I reckon, obviously when you watch movies about colonial America, me being an accent enthusiast, the one thing they always get wrong is the British accents during that time period. Because if you think about, don't mean to get too historical, but
Yeah.
British accents didn't sound like that back then, because the British accent sounded more like an American accent.
That's more of a fact than like
500 years ago. So when America was being colonized by the British, the accent was more towards an American accent. So I think that even though we don't have any like audio evidence of what colonial Americans sounded like, I think watching The Witch, I reckon, in my personal opinion, they got the accent down so correct. Not correct, but I reckon they got the accent down perfectly. It's like a weird hybrid of English and American, which is for the most part.
Yep. Interruption. Hey sis, we're doing a video.
It's alright.
You always interrupt my videos.
Yeah, I just reckon them doing the accent of colonial American accent is just perfect and spot on. And I think it's kind of the closest we'll get to hearing colonial Americans talk, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
There's a bit of a historical buff coming, my historical side coming out.
That's fun fact for today, guys. Alright, so, yep, you got The Witch. Fantastic movie. So my number 6, it was meant to be Sinister, but of course it was on my honorable mentions and I didn't know it's my own list. So I replaced it with this one movie that I think, yeah, it also came out last year. Mm-hmm. And I reckon, in my opinion, I know you haven't seen it, but it's definitely one of the most underrated horror films that I've ever seen. And that movie goes to Haunt. Now, Haunt is basically about a haunted house attraction going wrong.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like no one remembers that movie. I remember watching this movie for the first time, and I'm just like, this is a really good low budget horror film, because the movie was terrifying in its own way. The cast, none of the characters done really dumb decisions in that film, which is what I like about these films. And trying to get back in memory with that film, but I remember how underrated it was. The mask designs of that film is fantastic, because he loves customizing masks. Learn from that film, because the mask in that film is freaking fantastic.
Okay.
A lot of great twists, a lot of great turns. It's a great spin on the haunted house genre. So
I might actually consider watching that.
It's a really good horror film, and I reckon that should have been more known, but of course not much people talk about it. Or it even got released in theaters, which I saw this movie online because I heard Chris Stuckman talk about that film, and he said it was great. So I checked it out, and he was right. It was a great horror film. So yeah, Haunt goes to my number 6. So Justin,
what's up?
We are now in our top 5 favorite horror films of the last decade. So Justin, hit it away for your number 5.
The Conjuring.
Wow, yes.
Yes. And I think that what The Conjuring started, the whole trend of ghost movies and all that stuff, I think the only movie that did it right was Insidious and The Conjuring.
I agree. James Wan, they're both by James Wan too.
I just think the overabundance of ghost movies that came out after The Conjuring never lived up to the success and the craftsmanship of The Conjuring, because I think that The Conjuring is very much filled with jump scares and everything, but personally, I think The Conjuring uses jump scares very well.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's one of the few ghost movies that really creep me the fuck out, honestly.
Yes, I think it's definitely one of the previous movies I've seen.
And I just think that like the best movies in the Conjuring franchise is the first and the second one only. Annabelle Creation is one of the more decent ones.
I agree.
Just that he just doesn't reach the same level as Conjuring.
Nothing can beat the original, of course.
And the second movie.
Yeah. Alright, so my number 5 is a movie that came out 2 years ago. And I'll give you a clue. The sequel's meant to come out this year. And it's one of the most surprising horror films of that year.
Okay.
My number 5 goes to A Quiet Place.
Ooh.
Yes, A Quiet Place Part 2 was meant to come out this year, but it's coming out next year. Which that is fine, as long as it's still coming out. Yeah, right when I saw the trailer of A Quiet Place, I already loved the concept. And especially Jim from The Office is directing it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that is pretty risky. Yeah. And holy shit, that movie was a great direction. And what John Krasinski wants from that film, it's not just a horror film, but it's a horror film. He's trying to make a horror film about what it takes to take care of your family in this situation. And I thought he did it really, really well. It's more about family than those monsters
eating
people.
Think them showing the monster more towards the end kind of ruined it.
I
don't
thought
know
the
how-
design of the monsters look cool.
It looks cool,
It
but-
kind of reminds me of the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. That's what they look like. In my
Which
opinion.
that was my other complaint. The monster design for the monster design in The Quiet Place, it wasn't really original. It was very generic.
Yeah.
But
The whole way through this film was so intense because I remember seeing an advanced screening for the film because I was so pumped for it. And the movie turned out really suspenseful. I was on the edge of my seat. Even like when I was eating popcorn, I was eating it so quietly because of how silent the film was. And like it's like if we make a noise, we're totally fucked. Yeah, Quiet Place is on my number 5. Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, great job in the film. The monsters, I don't think they're that bad. It's just the ending. I'm like, yeah, it's a setting up a sequel type ending. And I'm curious what part 2 brings. It does look really good, and I'm really excited to see Cillian Murphy in that movie. A Quiet Place is on my number 5. So, what is your number 4?
Train to Busan.
Wow! I said fraud. Number 4.
It's bloody fraud, mate.
Yeah, that's on my list too, which I'm not gonna tell you where.
Train to Busan was it surprisingly is the first Korean movie I've ever seen. Maybe some of you would be like, oh, what about Parasite? I'll get to it eventually, but
there's much more Korean films.
Train to Busan was a movie that surprised me because at the time, well, before I saw this movie, 28 Days Later was actually one of my favorite zombie movies until I saw Train to Busan.
They're both really good.
Except Train to Busan is better.
I agree.
Honestly, people said the movie gets really sad towards the end.
It is. I literally cried towards the end of the movie.
I actually cried because
I cried during a zombie movie. It's like, that is fantastic.
I think I've cried in a few horror movies before. I think one other horror movie that I cried watching was The Bride of Frankenstein a few years ago.
I haven't seen any of those old Monsterverse movies.
Man, you gotta watch them.
I've seen Dracula, like the original Dracula from the 30s, but anyway, move on.
But yeah, I should say that Train to Busan is how you not only do zombie movies, but that's how you do horror in general.
Good point.
So you don't just utilize jump scares, you utilize your atmosphere and the setting.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
that's on my list too. I'm not going to tell you where. It's not my number 4. My number 4 is another movie that's by the director that was really surprising. And I mentioned it before, I'm mentioning it again. It's by Jordan Peele. You guess what it is, and that movie is Get Out. Yeah. That time, let's go back in time when Get Out was releasing.
Yeah.
I wasn't excited for it. Because first, Jordan Peele is directing it, and I'm just like, that is an odd director that's directing a horror film because
of his comedy, because of his
Keel and
background.
Peele, yeah, all those stuff.
Key and Peele, yeah.
But then when the movie came out, right at the ending, I'm just like, am I the only one who thinks this movie was freaking phenomenal?
I think he also hosted the new Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, he
show as
did.
well.
Yeah, he did, which I haven't seen. I've seen the old Twilight Zone episodes, but yeah, Get Out. This movie is exactly what Us is. It's original. It's different. It's bring out basically Meet the Parents, but make it more creepy. That's the best way to describe it, with racism as well. And the whole movie was very intense, very thrilling, very funny actually, really surprisingly funny. And that's what Jordan Peele does a great job at, mixing comedy and horror. And yeah, the actor in this movie, I forgot his name. He actually got nominated for an Oscar, I think, for that movie. And I won't blame him. He does probably one of the better performances I've seen in a horror film. Makes me not want to have like a glass mug after that scene. It's just, every time I hear that, I just get freaked out. Just because of that intimidation scene. Yeah. So, yeah, Get Out is on my number 4. So, Justin, get into your number 3.
Ooh. We're gonna get into some spicy shit now. We're in our top 3, lads.
Yes.
Now,
Time for the scares and the feels.
My third one, and I'm proud to put this on my list, the Invisible Man Remake.
Wow, I didn't put that on my list. Now I regretted it. That's a good one.
Obviously, Evil Dead 2013 is also one of my favorite remakes.
Yeah.
But
I noticed Invisible Man came out this year, but at least that's like the end of the last decade, but it doesn't matter.
I'll say, yeah.
Yeah.
But holy shit, the Invisible Man remake, I reckon, besides John Carpenter's The Thing, is probably one of the best remakes out there because it brings an old tale by H.G. Wells. It brings it into the modern era, and my god, they do it so well. And the twist ending is a mindfuck, honestly.
Yeah, it was a really good movie.
But genuinely,
the only great horror film that came out this year, because horror films have been crap this year.
Because genuinely, John Carpenter's The Thing and this Invisible Man remake probably have to be two of my favourite remakes, along with Evil Dead 2013.
I won't disagree with that. That is really good movies.
Oh yeah, actually I've got 4 favourite remakes. The Nosferatu remake from 1979.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I
But-
enjoyed The Invisible Man, but it's not on my list because it came out this year, so I don't know if I'll count it. But anyway, I didn't know what's on his list, so
So
that's
I'm,
okay.
I'm guessing you're gonna give me a pass for that one.
Yeah, I'll give you a pass. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The Invisible Man's good, so we can get away with it. It's
Awesome.
a great movie, so I accept that.
So what's in your
My
three?
number 3 is an unpopular opinion, actually.
Okay.
Some people think the first one's better. It's a sequel.
Mhm.
Some people think the first one was better. You put it on your list. I like this movie better than the first one, in my personal opinion, and that movie goes to The Conjuring 2.
Ooh, okay.
Now, yes, the first Conjuring is on my honorable mentions. I still think it's a great horror film, but I love The Conjuring 2 much better. It's because it felt more like a film than a horror film. It has scares, it has all that stuff, but it also has different genres mixed in. Like, it has romance, it has comedy, and it has heart. Like, I think my favorite scene in this entire movie is where Patrick Wilson, playing the detective, is singing Elvis to the kids. I thought that scene was heartwarming because it's not just because it's trying to be lighthearted, but it's showing more of Patrick Wilson and, what's that chick's name?
Vera Farmiga.
Yeah, their relationship. And it shows, like, how much they love each other and how much they care for each other. And that scene made me tear up a bit. But the scares in this movie is absolutely terrifying.
Funnily enough, the nun wasn't for me the actually the scariest part. She was scary, but there was something that scared me more.
I thought the nun was creepy as hell. Not the movie, the nun in the Conjuring.
The crooked man scared the fuck out
Yes,
of me.
I want to see a crooked man movie,
like,
to be honest.
It was so unexpected. Where
They have a NECA figure of that too. Maybe I'll
where
get that figure, yeah.
the part where the dog wants to go out.
Yeah.
So she unlocks the door and the dog starts to contort into the crooked man.
Yes, I love that scene.
And the crooked man starts singing. That really creeped me the fuck out.
I want to see a crooked man movie. If they're going to make more movies in Conjuring Universe, make the crooked man.
I think it's on the works, but...
Or that scarecrow for Annabelle Creation. I thought that scarecrow looks creepy.
You know, the funny thing is, I probably won't watch any of the other Conjuring spin-offs.
Yeah, I won't blame you because they haven't been that good ever since.
No.
So, yeah, The Conjuring 2, I like it better than the first one in my opinion. I still love the first Conjuring, still one of my favorites. But I really love The Conjuring 2 much better than the first one in my personal opinion. So
I personally think that's agreeable to a certain degree.
Yeah, so The Conjuring 2 is on my number 3. So now we get to 2 and 1. So what is your number 2, Justin?
I don't know if you've seen this, but Terrifier.
No, I haven't. What is it?
Terrifier is a slasher movie that not many people know about, but I discovered in our horror community. It's about a crazy clown that goes around killing people in like the most brutal and horrific ways. And
is this before when it came out?
Man, I think after Chapter 1 came out, I can't remember.
Okay.
But Terrifier is one of my favourite slasher movies of this decade.
The last decade, technically.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's basically a crazy maniacal clown that goes around killing people. And he holds like a rubbish bag, and it's full of tools and shit that he kills people with.
I didn't even see that movie. No.
It's on Netflix because that's where I found the movie.
Well, I'll check it out as long as you watch Haunt.
Yeah.
All right, deal.
And trust me, you will laugh. You will love the violence.
I will laugh at the violence.
Cut
yes.
it. No, you will. You actually laugh at it actually because they're actually pretty funny as well.
Okay.
Despite how violent they are and how brutally bloody they are, they're actually pretty funny.
Yeah, alright, I'll check it out.
I'm not going to spoil any of his kills because it's pretty funny.
Well, from Justin's recommendation, see that movie.
And they're doing a Terrifier too as well, which I actually can't wait.
I love that name too, the Terrifier. Okay, my number 2 is on your list as well, but a bit higher up, Train to Busan.
Ooh.
Yes. I think it's one of the best zombie movies that came out ever. Because, like he said, it felt like a film. It's emotional, it's, like, gruesome, it's terrifying, not in a jump scare way. The zombies look freaking fantastic in the film.
Yes.
And the cast is freaking phenomenal. And I'm not really much of a foreign film guy, but I would watch it for recommendation. And Justin recommended me Train to Busan, and I cannot believe I haven't seen it.
Honestly, this is just my opinion, but the little girl in Train to Busan has to be like one of the best child actors
Honestly,
I've seen.
why didn't she get an Oscar? After I researched this movie, she didn't get any nominations or anything.
She is the best child actor I've ever seen.
That ending made me cry. Like, I cried during a zombie movie, and I don't find that embarrassing at all.
Who doesn't?
Everything about this movie is intense, it's thrilling, it's emotional as hell, like I said. It's definitely one of the best zombie movies, and I wish American zombie, like, people who American zombie people. People who wrote zombie films in America should watch Train to Busan and know what zombie films are.
Aren't Americans just zombies but really fat?
They just think the zombies are what makes me entertaining, but no, Train to Busan. Did I say it right? Train to Busan.
Train to Busan.
Busan, yeah, Train to Busan. It felt like a film, and I feel like people should learn from that film if you want to make a great zombie film.
Not just zombie movies, but horror movies in general.
Even a movie in general. So that's why it's on my number 2. So, Justin, you ready to release your number 1 pick of your favorite horror movie from the last decade?
Oh, yeah.
What is your number 1?
Hereditary.
Whoa! Okay. This is going to be an unpopular opinion for me, but I'm not a fan of that movie.
I mean, most people I know aren't a fan of it. My sister likes it.
I don't hate it. That's the thing. I don't hate it. I think it's well filmed. But anyway, I'm glad Hereditary is your favorite. So
it's one of my favorite horror movies of the decade. But it's a movie that really creeped me the fuck out.
There are some scenes that are creepy.
Because you know, growing up, my mum used to tell me really scary stories, and you know, Hereditary kind of reminded me of those scary stories, and it's just like, that's really fucking creepy. And I think everyone knows this scene, and I think it's one of the most, I think it's the best scene of all the movie, is when Toni Collette is, you know, when she's screaming her head off.
Yeah, that is a good scene.
Finding out that, you know, the little girl died.
Which she's shown a lot in the trailers, so I thought that's misleading in my opinion.
I said this before, and I said this so many times, I think, you know, when Toni Collette's crying and screaming, I think it's one of the most accurate depictions of any mother's loss to a daughter. You know, some of you may agree or disagree, but, you know, just that scene alone and everything about Hereditary, I just fucking love. I just love that it's such a slow burn movie, but like, it just gets under your skin, and especially the music. Yeah, Hereditary pretty much leaves me speechless every time I watch it.
Okay, I'm glad you liked it.
But it's a fantastic movie, and I reckon it's one of the best movies of the 2010s ever.
Okay, I'm fine with your opinion. That's good. So, my number 1. Okay, this might surprise you because you're not a fan of this series.
Alright, well, spill the beans.
Okay. What the hell does that mean? Anyway,
it means get it out.
Okay, I'll get it out. I'll spit my beans. That's such a stupid... I'm sorry, it's a stupid metaphor. Anyway, so my number 1 goes to a movie that I wasn't excited for.
Okay.
I'll give you a clue. It's based on a Stephen King novel. And it's one of the longest Stephen King novels.
Is it Pet Sematary?
No, but close. This is a remake as well of the original film that came out in the 90s, which is more of a series.
Okay.
So, my number 1 goes to... We'll Float Down Here.
Really?
Yes, It is my number 1 favorite horror film of the last decade. We both have a public opinion.
I've actually never seen It, so I can't say. I've only seen Chapter 2. I've only seen Chapter 2.
You have to see the first It. Because this movie is one of the scariest, one of the most terrifying movies that I've seen in the last decade. I watched this movie 3 times in theaters. I was so surprised by that movie. I have to put in my number 1 because I always watch this movie every Halloween, and it always scares me every time. The miniseries wasn't that great. I thought the miniseries, like, the first half was good, and then the adults and all that shit wasn't that great. It Chapter 2 really disappointed me, to be honest.
I thought it was okay.
It was better than the original It, like the actual original It from the 90s. I'll give it that. They did the adults a little bit better, but nothing can go with the first It, because it's a movie that mixes genres as well, with comedy and horror. Bill Skarsgård, one of the best, like, slasher, in my opinion, one of the better slasher performances that I've ever seen. His character, like, what I liked about Pennywise is that he's not a person, he's a creature. And that's what I love about him in the film. And The Losers Club, I'm not a fan of kid actors in films. They are not annoying at all. I love them all. Finn Wolfhard is just funny as hell. There's a lot of scenes I kill myself laughing. There's a lot of scenes I scream like a little girl. Because it was so terrifying. Even the opening scene, I did not expect it to go this violent. But I'm not going to spoil it. You need to see the first It.
Okay.
But everything about it is terrifying. It's scary. It has some of the best direction I've seen in a horror film, and of course, the way Bill Skarsgård performs as Pennywise made this film my number 1. It's one of the best horror. Like, I'm guessing Terrifier was inspired by It. I got a feeling it is. But
I'd
that's
say
not in a bad way.
Really.
It kind of looks like it. I saw images of it. I'm like, it looks like
it is more
Pennywise a bit.
supernatural, whereas Terrifier is just more of a straight up slasher movie. So
Yeah.
I think the connection.
I consider this more as a creature flick than a slasher movie, but yes, I love this movie. I will always remember this movie from 2010s in horror movie genre. All the other movies are great, but it is the one that just like goes on first place, like in a competition or something for the best horror films of 2010. So it is my favorite.
Awesome.
So we done it. We done our top 10 favorite horror films of the last decade, guys.
Yes, we have.
You had fun, Justin?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Let us know what top 10s we can do next, and we'll probably do it. Because I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and it's...
Well, I'm glad.
It's probably in a while. I've never done, like, a top 10 list in a while with somebody. So, thank you so much, Justin, for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me,
It was
man.
so much fun. And, guys, let us know down below, what are your top 10 favorite horror films in the last decade?
And be as biased as you want, because we're not gonna...
We're not gonna judge. Like, he puts, like, some movies that I liked and I don't love.
We're not going to crucify you for your opinions.
Yes,
so.
This is all about opinions, guys. So let us know down below what are your favorites. And guys, unfortunately, this will be the last video for Halloween month. I'm just moving on for more movie reviews again. So this Halloween so far has gone really great. And thank God the pandemic is almost over.
At least in Australia.
In Australia. Hopefully you guys out of country are okay. Hopefully you guys aren't sick or anything. All good. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys follow me on Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter. Keep contacting me. And if you want to see Justin, go on his YouTube channel. He makes some really great short films. I think he's very, very talented.
Oh, well,
so check
he's being a bit too generous, but...
Yeah, so I'll put in a link down below. So, happy Halloween, guys. Hopefully you guys had a great Halloween.
Also, Owen's got an OnlyFans account.
You fucked it up, Justin. Alright, that was awkward. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and you want to do this with me?
Sure.
Have a nice day.